I slammed my coffee cup down on the table when my half-sister claimed my grandparents stole me away from a family that never existed. We were sitting in a busy local diner, the exact kind of place our dad used to take us before the world broke apart. For 20 years, the story in Maya's head had been a complete fairy tale. When our dad died unexpectedly, I was 10 and she was only 5. Because my biological mother had already passed away when I was a toddler, our dad had sole custody of me. Maya's mother had primary custody of her due to a demanding travel schedule, but we all lived under one roof half the time. When dad died, our paths split instantly. Maya went back to her mother full-time, and I went to live with my maternal grandparents. To a 5-year-old child, it looked like a kidnapping. To a 10-year-old boy, he was just going home to the people who actually loved me. For years, Maya threw massive screaming tantrums every single time we were forced together for a court-ordered holiday visit. She would stand right in the middle of my grandparents' living room, pointing her finger and cussing at the 2 elderly people who were working extra shifts just to buy my school clothes. She screamed that they were thieves, that they were tearing our family apart, and that I belonged in her house. I hated her for it. The anger burned so hot in my chest that after a few visits, my grandparents quietly stopped answering the phone calls from her mother. We went completely no contact for 15 years. The silence was peaceful when we finally reconnected a year ago. I hoped that turning 21 would have brought us some maturity, some distance, or at least a reality check. But the very first night we grabbed dinner at a local grill, the illusion shattered. The negative emotion inside her hadn't faded at all. It had just curdled into a deep, bitter resentment against my grandparents and the legal system. I told her flat out that her mother was a complete stranger to me, that she was never my family, and that I had absolutely zero desire to ever live under her roof. Maya just shook her head, a smug, knowing look on her face that made my blood run cold. "You only feel that way because you were just a kid, and you didn't have a real mom to compare it to," she said, her tone dripping with a forced pity. "If you would just come with us, you would have grown to love her. She was ready to adopt you. We were meant to be a real family, the 3 of us, but those old people took that away from you." I got stern, my voice dropping into a harsh, icy register. I told her it absolutely does not work that way. A stranger doesn't just slip into the shoes of a dead mother like a replacement part in a broken car. I was old enough to sit in the judge's private chambers, looking a social worker in the face, and tell them exactly where I wanted to go. I chose my family, my real family, not a woman who had a brief fling with our dad and whom I'd only met twice when she picked Maya up from the house. But Maya just refused to listen. Every single conversation we've had over the past 12 months circles back to the exact same spot. Last week, I finally lost my patience. I asked her bluntly if her mother even wanted me in the first place, or if she was just trying to collect me because Maya was making her life a living hell with the constant crying fits. Maya flinched before she defensively snapped back that her mother wanted us to be a complete unit. "Do you honestly think those 2 old people did right by you?" Maya asked, her voice sharp and mocking as she leaned forward. "They looked at what they did. They kept us apart for 15 years. They made sure we didn't see each other. They ruined our relationship because they were selfish." She said it with so much certainty, completely blind to the fact that her own aggression was the single reason the door had been locked in the first place. "They didn't ruin anything, Maya. I did," I said. I told her the truth she had been running from her entire life. I told her that it was I who begged my grandparents to cancel the visits. I was the one who was furious at her for trying to yank me away from the only stable home I had left after losing my dad. I told her if my grandparents had forced me to keep seeing her back then, I wouldn't just be distant now. I would have grown to absolutely despise her. Being with my actual blood family was the only thing that kept me sane. She sat back in the booth, but within seconds, the defense mechanism kicked right back in. She claimed my grandparents had manipulated my memories, that they had brainwashed a 10-year-old boy into fearing a normal woman. It's an exhausting, never-ending loop of delusion. I look at her now and I can see the deep, unhealed abandonment issues screaming underneath her anger. I know she's hurt, and I know she's my sister, but the constant disrespect directed at the 2 people who gave up their retirement to give me a life is something I'm physically incapable of tolerating. I stood up from the diner table, pulled a $40 bill out of my wallet, and dropped it next to the untouched breadbasket. I didn't say goodbye, and I didn't wait to watch her face change as she realized she was being left behind again. I walked out the heavy glass doors into the parking lot, got into my car, and blocked her number before I even turned the key in the ignition.